Hi there. Welcome to Samuel's Dreamscape Travel Agency. How can I help you today? Alright. So you're looking to book passage to Dreamland. Alright. Well, we have quite a few different deals and offers, which I will be happy to tell you all about. How many dreams are you looking to have on this particular trip? Right. Okay. So we've got a few different options. We can do, a single dream for $29.99. We can do 3 dreams for $49.99, or this is our best deal, the entire night. So for your entire stay, just continuous dreams for $69.99. Which one are you thinking? All right. Yeah. All night, huh? Okay. Cool. Absolutely get that in for you. Okay. Now, it looks like we have... so we have a lot of different options. We've got tours in... you can do fantasy dreamscapes. We can do sci-fi. If you're interested in touring some sci-fi worlds. There's a cyberpunk future. Now, there's different genres of each of these too. There's dark fantasy, there's high fantasy. We have, for sci-fi, there's space fantasy, which is less science, more fiction. Space western, maybe you want to dream about being a bounty hunter. Or, just space cowboy, if that's your thing. Ray punk, space opera. There's all kinds of different types we can sign you up for. So obviously we can prioritize some of these if you're planning on being there all night, or dreaming for your entire night trip, however long you're going to be asleep. Hopefully this isn't like a coma setting, although that would technically be the best bang for your buck. Alright. So in addition to that, we do have now, no judgment if that's what you're into. We do have nightmares. We can book you passage to all kinds of spooky horrors, some of which may prematurely wake you up. These can eject you from the dream state early, so I'd be careful selecting those. But if you want one, we can absolutely book passage to those. Now, we also have 2 different states. So there's full dream and there's lucid dreaming. So full dreaming, you're not necessarily going to be aware that you're dreaming, but you'll wake up and you'll have the memories and you'll be able to recall certain things. Lucid dreaming, you will be aware that you're dreaming, so it'll give you more control over your dream. It is kind of easy to accidentally skip a dream if you do that, though, and it can ruin some of the immersion, in my opinion. But if you want to have superpowers in your in every dream, you're allowed to do that. Now, we do have a superhero city. That's a fun dreamscape. Alright, so I'm going to go through a list of several different dream types, and you can tell me if you want to have which ones you want to prioritize and make sure you get selected, okay? Alright, so just where I left off, there is the superhero Dreamscape, where you can basically have any superpowers you want, and for that tour we can also select superpowers ahead of time that you can have during it. And you can fight villains. You can be a villain if you want to. That's also an option. Let's see. Yeah, we've got all kinds of superpowers that you can have. Really anything, to be honest. Let's see. You'd have X-ray vision, super strength, shape-shifting, teleportation, time stop, super speed, flying. A lot of people really like to use flying, invincibility. We can of course get you multiple ones of these. There's not really a limit. It's a Dreamscape after all. Any of those sound, does that sound appealing to you at all? Alright, so I'll mark that one down. Prioritize that one, make sure that one gets in. Typically, depending on how long you sleep, you'll usually have anywhere from, or you usually have around 10 dreams. So we'll prioritize 10, and then the rest of them, they kind of get put on shuffle. That we can exclude certain ones if you prefer. Like, we don't have to have the bad dreams or nightmares in there. If you're not interested in that, we can definitely take those out. Yeah, kind of like a dream playlist almost. Except we customize the experience for you. All right. So let me just get that entered in for you. Alright, so that's dream number 1. How does a pleasant dream sound? So we've got different variations. We've got ones that are good memories. We've got picnic, summertime. Basically, you know, it's a sunny day, perfect temperature. Maybe a little bit too warm, but there's a cool breeze. You have like a lemonade or, you know, any drink, food you want. Or you could be sitting under a tree, reading a book, do all kinds of things. Does that sound nice? Yeah? Okay. So we'll put in a nice day, and are there any special parameters or anybody you want with you there? All right. Got that all entered in for you. So next up we do have so that's 2 down. So we've got 8 to go. We've got sci-fi settings. Now, I know I rattled off a bunch of them earlier. Do you remember them? Just give you a refresher. Okay. So there is space fantasy, which is, you know, kind of like if you had magic in space, maybe laser swords, you know, things like that. Space wizards. Not always space wizards. Sometimes it's more like space psychics. It's usually, you know, they do a sciencey magic, but it's still magic, you know. There's varying degrees of that, because there's some that are more sciencey, some that are more fiction. So there's ones that have like full-on wooden ships in space with solar sails, which is very cool if you want like kind of a high seas experience, but in space. We do also have high seas experience, which we can get to in a minute. Yeah, so space fantasy, ray punk, that's basically, you know, kind of like Buck Rogers, or the spoof, the cartoon spoof, Duck Dodgers with Daffy Duck. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those or familiar with them, but basically it's ray guns, you know, the kind of 1940s, 1950s idea of what space travel was going to be like, with ray guns and weird aliens, and you don't have to like breathe in space sometimes, or you get like those bubble helmets. So yeah, really just kind of retro. Does that interest you? Okay. Well, you wanna hear the rest before I go entering in any? That's fine. So there is Space Cowboy. There's some very popular ones in that genre, like Mandalorian or Firefly, Cowboy Bebop. You know, those are all space cowboy genre. Basically, so you can be like a bounty hunter, or gunslinger in space. Smuggler's a very popular one, but it's kind of like lawless frontier, but it's space, the final frontier. Does that interest you? All right, you wanted to hear the rest. My apologies. So we have just pure sci-fi, where it's like realism sci-fi, so it's more into the actual science of it, so it's more realistic, kind of like an extrapolation of current events and timelines. So, you know, you'll probably have robots, you'll need to have pressure, you'll have like, you know, the standard like astronauts, pressurized spacesuits, and things like that. Obviously, you still do far-flung future, so you can visit planets and all that stuff. Then we have space opera, so that would be like only thing I can think of off the top of my head that you might be familiar with is Space Battleship Yamato, or Yamato. I think it's Yamato. Although that one had some Ray Punk in it too. But it's basically kind of like epic space story. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm not sure what else to say about it. The setting's usually less about the science fiction and more about the people and the story, and just it's really about the journey. All right. I think that's really the bulk of it. If there's any subgenres you're interested in, you can let me know. We cannot do any copyright-written media, so I can't put you in Star Wars or Star Trek or anything like that. I do not have the rights to those. But we can, it's a dream state, so you can kind of make up the setting yourself as you go. It'll pull from kind of your pre-existing conceptions of what that might be. So, which of those interested you? You want space fantasy? Okay. And you wanted the high seas version. Okay. Yeah. Kind of a treasure planet thing going on. Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Obviously not in Treasure Planet. Again, don't have access to the copyright stuff, but we can do something like that. Kind of a parody piece. All right. And then you wanted space fantasy. Oh, Dune's another space western. You might be familiar with, I don't know. All right. Space western. Yeah, that's actually my favorite genre of sci-fi. I don't think there's enough stuff out there of space western personally, but maybe that's just me. All right, so space western. Okay, so we got space western, space fantasy, high seas, and do you want any other ones? Ray Punk? Okay, yeah, we can do that. All right, and did you want cyberpunk as well? So yeah, like near future, but kind of dystopian. But you can have like cyborg stuff. Yeah. Okay. Get that for you. So that's 4 plus the other 2. Did we do 2 already? I think we had Nice Day. Alright, I think we should be up to 6 right now. Because we got 4 of the sci-fi. So, should be 4 more. Alright, are you interested in fantasy at all? Yes, okay. You want high fantasy, swords and sorcery, dark fantasy. We'd like to know the difference. Okay, so high fantasy, there's generally usually a lot of different races, elves, dwarves, orcs, goblins, things like that. Which you can actually be one of those if you want. We can set that up. Typically there is magic, but usually in a high fantasy setting, magic is relegated to a select few, and it's generally very powerful or very complicated. It's not like you just think it and you can do it kind of thing, or just rattle off a couple magic words and it'll happen. So, a good example of high fantasy would be like Lord of the Rings. Swords and sorcery that's your general fantasy. It's typically what you would find in like Dungeons and Dragons, any anime where somebody gets isekai'd into a fantasy world. I don't know if that means anything to you. Basically, any fantasy video game you play almost that has a magic in the game, that's going to be like a swords and sorcery, where basically magic is just as common as using martial weaponry like swords and axes and stuff, hence the name. And then there's dark fantasy. Typically, those have less magic, fewer races. They're more like a fantastical version of reality, kind of like a medieval setting. Usually it's a little darker. I mean, it's called dark fantasy, so that should give you a clue. But I don't mean lighting, like storyline wise. It's more of a struggle to get by. Any of those interest you? Yep. High fantasy and a swords and sorcery adventure. Awesome, we can do that. Alright. So that leaves 2 more. Oh, superhero adventure. That was the first one we did, yeah. Oh, and did you want to be a hero or a villain for that one? No judgment. Okay. Yeah, I always do the hero because even in a dream, I feel bad if I'm mean. I don't like it. Alright, so we've got 2 more. What do we want to do? Did you want any bad dreams, nightmares, anything like that? You don't want any. Yeah, we can cut those out. None of those. Just remove them entirely. Alright, can do. Alright, we can even do multiple ones of the same genre, or if there's a specific thing you can think of, because you're at 8 right now, so you got 2 more. What are you thinking? Yeah, we do have some more traditional dream options. There's just Bizarro World. Nothing's gonna make sense to you. Those typically your brain doesn't hold on to very well, so like you wake up, you're not gonna remember most of it because it's just too weird for your brain to like order correctly. Those are typically what most people have for dreams. They're just weird. You want one of those? You get those anyway for free? Yeah, no, that's fair. I wouldn't want to pay for something I'm getting for free either. Alright. Sorry, just getting some settings done while you think about that. Just give it some thought, and I will put some settings in here. Did you, for any of these, did you want to have lucid dreaming? Okay, and for which ones? Okay. Get that sorted for you right now. Alright, got that entered in. Okay. What else? You got 2 more. So you've already got 4. You got 4 sci-fi, plus kind of like a future dystopian sci-fi. And the superhero thing actually kind of counts as sci-fi too. So you got a lot of sci-fi, not a lot of fantasy. Did you want a regular high seas adventure too, like a standard type, like actually on the ocean and stuff? Yeah, we can do that. Alright. Get one of those in for you. And, we also have undersea adventures, so you can explore the ocean in like a submarine, or even like with the ability to breathe underwater. And you can look at all kinds of crazy sea creatures and stuff. It'll be perfectly safe, obviously, it's a dream. Does that interest you? Alright. Get that going. Alright. Now that is 10. So, yeah, your total will be $69.99. If you subscribe, you can, we can knock 99 cents out of that and get $69. And of course, you will also receive a 10% discount on any future Dreamscape trips. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in subscribing, you can do that. You can also, we'll have a little pamphlet. We'll send you an email that you can respond to. It'll have like a little survey thing. You can let us know if you like the service we're providing. If there's anything I can do better, you can also leave comments, or you know, if there's some new features you would like to see in this, you can absolutely let us know and we'll get right on that. Okay, I think that is it for you today. We also do have, just in case it gets a little intense or scary, we will also put in a safety word that you can speak while you're in the dream. It'll be written on your arm. We'll have it in, so even though you won't know you're dreaming, you'll be aware of what's going on with that. So if, you know, your space adventure or pirate adventure, whatever, gets a little too intense, you can skip it and go to the next dream, or potentially even wake up if you really need to. Alright, and this is set for an 8-hour trip into the dream world. It is perfectly safe. It's a dream. They are dreams, they can't hurt you. Now, your brain does not technically know the difference between dreams and reality, so I do recommend skipping if it does get a little scary, because while it can't physically hurt you, it can do some stuff up here, so just be aware of that, okay? Alright. Oh. Okay. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you for coming to Samuel's Dreamscape Travel Agency. I hope to see you here again. Have a pleasant dream. Alright, God bless. Goodbye.